Good morning, fifth grade. I will not be able to make the Zoom meeting this morning because I have another meeting at the same time. So I've decided to do this YouTube video for you guys to watch. And this will be going over, I'll be going over lesson 0709 and showing you a similar way than that how they show you in the actual lesson on the Florida virtual lesson. So it is, our learning target today is that I can subtract mixed numbers with unlike denominators by using equivalent fractions. Okay, so I'm going to switch my screen to my hover cam so I can go over a couple problems with you. And again, this is lesson 0709. I'm going to go over two different problems this morning. And again, just like I've always told you before, if you need to watch the video more than once, I highly recommend you doing that, because a lot of times watching it once, you know, you don't truly understand it. You're getting better, but just like if I was teaching it in the classroom by using multiple examples. So sometimes it's okay to watch it more than once. Actually, I highly recommend that you do. All right, so our first problem is going to be 2 5/8 minus 1 1/2. Okay, 2 5/8 minus 1 1/2. All right, so my first step, what I really want to do is I want to subtract my whole numbers. Okay, so I want to subtract 2 minus 1. So then I get 1. And then I want to look at my fractions, okay? And then I have 5/8 minus 1/2. Okay, so there's two strategies that I've taught you on how to find equivalent fractions, to use equivalent fractions, to find common denominators. And one is just to take this 5/8 and just find equivalent fractions until you have the same denominator. Another strategy is that I know that I can multiply my other denominator. So if I look at my other denominator, which is a 2, and look at 5/8, I know that I can multiply 5/8 by my other denominator. Now I want to make sure my 5/8 still stays the same, which I mean that it still equals 5/8. My next fraction is going to equal 5/8. So I have to multiply it by 2 over 2, because 2 over 2 equals 1. And if I multiply 5/8 times 1, I'm still going to get 5/8. So basically, this is another way of trying to find an equivalent fraction. So I would have 5 times 2 and 8 times 2, and that would equal 10/16. Okay? Then I look at 1/2. And I look at my other denominator. So my other denominator is 8. So I want to multiply it by 8 over 8. So I have 1 times 8 over 2 times 8, and I get 8/16. Okay, so now I've just created a common denominator of 16. So now I can go ahead back to my original equation and just plug those new fractions in there. So I still have my 1 plus 10/16 minus 8/16. Okay, so I know that 10/16 minus 8/16 equals 2/16, but I still have my 1, and I just add my 1 to 2/16, and I get 1 and 2/16. So that is I go up to my original problem, put 1 and 2/16. Okay. And that is one way on how to subtract a mixed number with unlike denominators. So we use the multiplication model here. I multiplied by the opposite denominator. All right, in our second problem, we're going to have to regroup. Okay, so our second problem is 4 5/8 minus 1 9/10. Okay, and like I said the first time, the number one step, the first step we do is we subtract our whole numbers. So 4 minus 1 is 3. And then I have 5/8 minus 9/10. All right, so I'm going to try to find a common denominator. Okay, so I'm going to bring down my 5/8, and I'm going to multiply it by my other denominator in my other fraction. I'd multiply it by 10 over 10. Again, this is where I get the 10 from, and I have to multiply it by a 10 in my numerator, otherwise it'll change the value of the 5/8, and we don't want to change the value of that number. So I have 5 times 10 and 8 times 10, which equals 50 over 80. All right, we look at our second fraction, which is 9/10. And on this one, I want to multiply. Look at my other denominator, and I want to multiply it by 8 8/8. Again, not trying to change the value. And 9 times 8 over 10 times 8 equals 72 over 80. I've now created a common denominator. Okay? A common denominator. So now I go back to my original problem, and I have 3 plus 50 over 80 minus 72 over 80. Okay, can I take 72 from 50? Hopefully you're going to say no. Now this can be a common misconception for fifth graders, is to put the 72 over 80 first and then subtract the 50 over 80. But that's not what it says in our original problem. In our original problem, we have 5/8, and the equivalent fraction for 5/8 is 50 over 80. And we subtract 9/10, and the equivalent fraction for 9/10 is 72 over 80. So we have to keep it in the proper order. That they come in, because we cannot switch them around. We cannot use the commutative property when we deal with subtraction. Otherwise, we get a different value, a different answer. So, going back to our common denominators of 80, I have to regroup. I have 3 wholes here. So what I want to do is I want to take one of those wholes. So if I take 1 from 3, I get 2. And I want to make that one whole into a fraction by using 80 in my denominator. So how I make one whole with 80 in my denominator is I have to have 80 in my numerator. So 80 over 80 equals 1. 2 plus 1 equals 3. So now I have to add 80/8 plus 50/8. Okay, over here I have to add 80 over 80 plus 50 over 80. And I can't forget my 2 because I still have 2 remaining. So now I can add those together. So I have 2 plus 130 over 80. Then I can go back to my original subtraction and do 70 over 80. If you're not good at mental math, okay, you can always use the standard algorithm. All right, I'm going to use mental math. I'm going to say, okay, what number plus 72 will equal 100? Well, that would be 28. 28 plus 72 equals 100. And then I have 30, so I want to add 30 plus 28, and that should give me 58. So I know that I have 58/80ths. Now I still have this 2, so I have to put, I can't forget that 2. So 2 and 58/80ths would be my answer. Okay. So in this problem, we had to regroup. So we go back to our original problem. So our answer would be 2 and 58/80ths. Okay, so I want you to watch this video. Watch it again if you need help. I've given you 2 different examples. The first one, we found common denominators and subtracted. We did not have to regroup. But on the second problem, we were subtracting a fraction that was greater than our fraction, so we had to regroup that fraction from one of our wholes. I will also take pictures of these 2 problems, and I will also email them to you so you can look at those 2 problems again on paper as well as watching the video. So again, this will help you with lesson 0709. And I will look at 0710, and I will see if I should do another video on that one as well. So I hope you all have a great day. Again, if you have any questions, if you've watched the videos and you still don't understand, and you're working with a parent or a guardian at home and you still don't understand, okay, send me an email. Let me know, and I will find time today or sometime this week that we can meet together and I can go over these problems again with you. Or if we have a small group, I might have to do that. But otherwise, our normal meeting time would be, we'll see each other again on Thursday. So hope you all have a great